Today I'm going to show you how to do the lab easier than pie. This is a spin on a traditional pie, but made for in a fun way that will get you working with the equipment in the kitchen and practicing the cooling food technique from 140 to 70 in 2 hours, and then from 70 to 35 degrees in 4 hours, and we'll be using the ice bath method of cooling that food down. You're going to be planning this lab out, and you're going to have a couple of options for what you want to prepare. Day one, you're going to be making a pastry dough, and you have 3 options. You can make a nutty shortbread, a flaky pastry dough, or a lemon cornmeal dough. And then for your filling, you're going to be able to make peach, plum, nectarine, cherry, raspberry, blueberry, blackberry, or strawberry. For this demo, I'm going to show you how to make the simplest, the flaky pastry dough. As long as you know how to do that, you can still do the other 2. And then for the filling, I'm going to show you how to do the nectarine, because there's 2 recipes for this. You can do a berry, and that's one recipe, and then there is a heavier fruit, which all these fruits have a pit in them. So I'm going to show you how to do the nectarine because that's pitted, and then I'm going to show you how to do blueberry because that is a berry. Okay, but again, you can do any fruit, and as long as you know how to do these 2 basics, you'll be able to do it in class. Okay, so what I'm going to start with is showing you how to make the pastry, the flaky pastry dough, and this is just a traditional pie crust. All right. So what you're going to want to start with is you're going to need shortening, some flour, some ice water, a little bit of butter, and then some salt. For this, you're going to be using a pastry blender, and this is a pastry blender. Just hold on 1 second, I have to grab a bowl. Okay, now I'm going to start showing you how to make the basic flaky pastry dough. You're going to start by adding your flour into just a normal size bowl. You need about 1 cup and 2 tablespoons. So remember, flour provides bulk or structure to whatever baked product you're making, but you don't want to pack it. So I'm going to take my spoon, and I'm just going to spoon my flour in. Need 1 cup. I'm going to take my straight edge spatula and level it up. 1 cup, and then I need 2 tablespoons. And when you're planning your lab, you're going to be reducing this recipe down in half, and I'm following the reduced recipe right now. Because this is a smaller amount, I just spooned it out. 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. Okay. Put my flour off to the side. So in there, I just have my flour. Next, I'm going to add my salt, and this just provides flavor. And I only need a 1/4 teaspoon. Make sure you're paying attention. You don't add like a whole teaspoon, because it will make for a very, very salty pie crust. And pie crust is not supposed to be sweet, but you don't want it very salty, or it tastes like a French fry or something. Okay. Next, you're just going to mix this up. Okay. Next, we're going to we're going to cut in our butter and our shortening. That is our fat, and that's what's going to make up for the flakiness and the layers in your pastry pie crust. So to do that, let's start with my shortening. For shortening, you need 3 tablespoons. So when you're doing this, you're going to pick up a big wad of it, and then you're going to have to pack it. Just like so. Okay. I'm going to put this separately, and then I'll show you cutting it into the dry ingredients in 1 sec. Just like so. Get it all out of there. Just like so. Okay. There's my shortening. Next is our butter. Remember, 1 stick of butter is equivalent to a 1/2 cup. What's nice about these sticks of butter that you get at any grocery store is it's labeled for you in tablespoons. So there's 8 tablespoons in 1 stick of butter. You need 3 tablespoons of butter. So what's going to happen is you're going to go from the end. 1, 2, 3. Don't let go in this middle, because whoever comes up here next, your classmates, we need to share this butter. So 1, 2, 3. Just going to cut it. Okay? Then what you're going to do is you are going to cut this butter. Mine's already very much softened. If yours was still somewhat hard, you're going to cube it, but since mine's softened, I'm going to just put it into my dry mixture in little chunks, just like so, because this is just going to help for easy distribution when you're cutting it in with the pastry blender. Right into the dough, or into the flour, just like so. And then you're going to put the rest of your fat in. Okay. Now we're going to cut in. This is a pastry blender. You can do this in a food processor as well, but I wanted to show you how to use this pastry blender because you'll be using it in a couple of labs throughout the semester. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you start by you're cutting the fat in. And in this recipe, we're using butter and shortening. Some recipes, you'll just use one or the other. But for extra flavor and tenderness, we're using both. And you are going to keep cutting it until it's very tiny and somewhat combined into the flour mixture. What's nice is you can go through, take this out, and just keep cutting it to make it as small as possible. You don't want huge chunks, but it doesn't need to be so tiny. And the flour will adhere to the fat, and then when you add your liquid, that's what's going to, you'll see the layers, if you do it properly. And we're just about done. Okay, no big chunks. Okay, at that point now, we're going to add in our ice water. We need, and I just put some water in a cup with ice. We need 3 tablespoons. And because it's a small amount, I can use the measuring spoons. If it was like a cup or something, I would use a liquid measuring cup. And then I need 1½ teaspoons. And then the half. Next, you're done using this pastry blender, because if you were to take this and start mixing around, it's going to get all clumped up and it just makes a huge disastrous mess. So now I'm going to use a fork, probably the best ingredient or utensil for this. I'm going to start mixing this around, just to clump all the dough together. Notice again, I always move my bowl. It just helps for combining your ingredients. This is something I like to do. Keep mixing it. My dough's looking a little dry. Sometimes students will come up to me at this point and say, my dough's looking dry. Should I add more liquid? Not yet, because you want to just keep mixing it. The fat, the liquid is combining together, and it should all adhere together. So keep mixing it to try to clump it. It will form one nice clump. Okay. At this point now, you're going to use your hand. You don't want to over mix it, because too much mixing forms a lot of gluten, and then it will cause this to start rising, and you don't want pie crust to rise. And also, because there's the fat in here, it will it becomes very, very mushy and sticky. You don't want that. It's a little dry, so I'm gonna add about ½ teaspoon more. Depending on what your mixture looks like, you'll have to be the judge of that yourself. I'm just gonna sprinkle this on, and then I'm gonna adhere it. And I feel that this is pretty good now. Not too dry, and you definitely don't want it moist. Too moist. Okay, you're just going to form a ball, like so. And then you are going to wrap it in plastic wrap, label it, and it's going to be stored in the refrigerator overnight. If we were to roll it out right now without not refrigerating it, it would just crumble and fall apart. It'd be very, very difficult to work with. Okay, this is day 2 of your lab. Yesterday you prepared your dough. Today I'm going to show you how to roll it out. Okay, so first what you're going to do is you're just going to take your dough out. You're not going to knead it or touch it a lot. The less handling, the better your finished product will be. What you're going to do is you're going to clean your work surface.